Hello, everyone. In Chapter 1, Elijah managed to reach the Sterling mansion, facing shocking revelations and a world he never knew existed. Now, in Chapter 2, the real plan begins: strategies, alliances, and schemes to claim what was rightfully his. Get ready to see the cunning side of Elijah unfold. The grand Sterling manor had fallen silent after the opulent birthday banquet. Golden chandeliers reflected faint glimmers across the polished floors, but the laughter and music had long since faded. Victor Sterling walked ahead, his expression unreadable, while Elijah Carter followed, small in frame but sharp-eyed, taking in every detail of his new surroundings. The first to meet them was Madeline Sterling ***, Victor's first wife. She stood at the top of the wide staircase, arms crossed, her gaze sharp as a hawk. Behind her, her children, Adrian ***, and Clarice ***, observed the newcomer with thinly veiled disdain. "Ah, so this is the boy," Madeline said, her voice dripping with condescension. "The one your father brings home after a scandalous little surprise at his own party." Elijah's stomach tightened. The words stung, but he forced a calm bow. "Good evening, Mrs. Sterling." Madeline's lips curved into a mock smile. "Good evening. How polite for a boy who wasn't even welcome in his father's house for 12 years. Adrian snorted. "Looks like Dad brought home a stray. Should we be worried he bites?" He chuckled, the sound sharp like a blade. Clarice's eyes glittered with amusement. "Or maybe he just stinks like one." Elijah's fingers tightened around the photograph hidden in his pocket, the one his mother had given him. "Keep your calm. Observe." He breathed slowly, letting the insult slide over him. Before he could reply, Vanessa Sterling ***, Victor's second wife, entered radiant and deliberately charming. Her children, Lucas ***, and Ivy ***, flanked her. Vanessa's voice was honeyed, but her eyes sparkled with a competitive fire. "Well, isn't this interesting?" she said softly, circling Elijah like a predator assessing prey. "The little boy who caused such a stir tonight. You must be exhausted from sneaking past your less fortunate upbringing." Lucas laughed loudly. "I'd watch my back if I were you. These stairs can be dangerous for illegitimate brats." Ivy, however, hesitated, her gaze lingering on Elijah with genuine curiosity. "Ignore them," she whispered. "This house, it's full of noise, even in silence." Madeline's green eyes narrowed, shooting Vanessa a pointed look. "Careful, Vanessa. Don't encourage him. He's just a street urchin, nothing more." Vanessa smirked, leaning in slightly. "Oh, I know exactly what he is. But everyone loves a story of survival, don't they, dear Adrian? Clarice." Adrian rolled his eyes. "I'm not impressed by survival. This house only respects power." Clarice tittered. "Power? We'll see if the brat has even a fraction of what it takes to survive in here." Elijah swallowed, masking the whirlwind of thoughts inside. Observe the weaknesses. Remember every glance, every word. He could sense the tension simmering between the two wives, the rivalry over Victor's attention, the subtle contempt for him, and the fragile egos of the children. Each insult, each snicker, was a thread he could use later. Victor finally raised a hand, silencing the room. "Enough. Elijah, you will stay in the East Guest wing. Tomorrow you begin learning the routines of this household. Watch, listen, understand." Elijah nodded, the edges of his lips tight, hiding a spark of determination. "Yes, sir." The family dispersed, each retreating into their respective corners, leaving Elijah alone in the polished corridor. He inhaled deeply, letting the scent of wealth, power, and tension settle in his senses. This was more than a house. This was a battlefield. And tomorrow, he would start to chart every move, every weakness, every alliance he could exploit. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Sterling Manor, casting long beams across the cold marble floors and the ornate carpets. Elijah stood before the large mirror in the hallway, adjusting the new clothes Victor had prepared for him. The unfamiliar luxury, the scent of expensive cologne, polished wood, and rich leather, it all mingled into an overwhelming sense of power that Elijah had never experienced. His heart pounded, but he held himself steady. Madeline descended the grand staircase first, tablet in hand, eyes sharp and calculating. "Elijah," she said, voice cutting and precise, "remember that every step you take in this house is watched. There is no room for mistakes." Elijah lowered his gaze slightly, replying with measured calm. "Yes, Mrs. Madeline, I will be careful." Adrian, standing behind her with arms crossed, smirked. "Just a street kid, Mother. He won't last long here, not in the least." Clarice added, voice laced with contempt, "It will be entertaining, at least. Let's see if this boy can survive breakfast with mother and father without crumbling." Elijah studied each one carefully, memorizing their posture, their expressions, their voices. "They underestimate me. Good. Their true nature will show itself soon enough." Vanessa entered the breakfast room with Lucas and Ivy, her smile poised but her eyes sharp and cunning. "Good morning, Elijah. I hope you've eaten well. Let's start a new day with civility and efficiency." Lucas chuckled arrogantly. "Efficiency? We'll see how a street urchin keeps up with us." Ivy remained silent, yet her curious gaze lingered on Elijah, measuring and calculating, as if testing his limits. Breakfast passed in tense silence. Every word spoken carried undertones, every glance a challenge. Elijah answered only when spoken to, nodding politely, all the while observing, analyzing. Mother Madeline loves control. Adrian and Clarice are arrogant and impatient. Vanessa is clever, soft on the surface but dangerous underneath. Lucas is brash, Ivy curious, an unknown variable for now. After breakfast, Victor took Elijah on a tour of the manor, offices, library, and key areas of the estate. Elijah followed quietly, eyes scanning everything, the placement of furniture, the movement of the staff, the hidden cameras. Every detail is a potential advantage. Every routine is a piece in the game I'm beginning to play. Passing through the grand sitting room, Madeline's voice cut sharply. "Elijah, remember this. In this house, there is no room for weakness or kindness. If you want to survive, you must learn to wield intelligence and patience as weapons." "Understood." Elijah inclined his head, voice calm but deliberate. "Yes, I understand." Vanessa's lips curved in a faint, sharp smile. "And do not rely too heavily on your father's favor. Everything in this house has a cost, and affection is a double-edged sword." Elijah said nothing, but his mind raced. "They've revealed the rules of the house. I will play by them, but with my own pieces." In the afternoon, Elijah was led to his study room, where lessons and training would begin, preparing him for the path ahead. The takeover of Sterling Enterprises. Experienced tutors were assigned, but Elijah was not merely absorbing knowledge. He was analyzing, probing, measuring strengths and weaknesses, learning how to wield his mind as a tool for strategy. Before the day ended, Victor called Elijah to his side. You will live in this house, but remember, every action is under scrutiny. You must prove yourself not only in academics, but in intellect and social awareness with every family member. Elijah inclined his head, inwardly forming a plan. I will not merely survive, I will dominate. Every mocking glance, every word of scorn will become fuel for my return. The path is long, but every step I take will bring me closer to the power that belongs to me. One day, they will fear me. The late afternoon sunlight streamed through the towering windows of the Sterling Manor's drawing room, highlighting the opulence of the gilded furniture and crystal chandeliers. Elijah entered cautiously, his eyes sweeping over the room. 4 children were present, Adrian and Clarice, Madeline's offspring, and Luca's and Ivy, Vanessa's children. Each of them bore the aura of entitlement, their expressions a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and barely concealed disdain. Adrian leaned back in his chair, smirking, and whispered to Clarice, "So this is the street rat they've been boasting about. I don't see much to fear." Clarice laughed softly, the sound sharp as broken glass. "Fear, please. He looks like he hasn't had a proper bath in weeks. How pathetic." Elijah's jaw tightened, but he did not respond. His eyes, however, were calculating. Let them underestimate me. Good. It makes the first moves easier. Lucas, taller and slightly older than Adrian, crossed his arms. "You really are Victor's son? Funny. He always did have a strange taste in children." His words carried a mocking tone, but Elijah detected a subtle curiosity beneath the arrogance. Ivy, quiet but observant, tilted her head, eyes narrowing. "He's different. He doesn't react like the others." "Interesting," she murmured, almost to herself. Madeline's voice cut sharply through the murmurs. "Enough. Show respect. This boy is under my roof and under my eyes. You will treat him as a member of this family or learn the consequences of insolence." Elijah inclined his head politely. "Yes, Mrs. Madeline," he said evenly, masking the storm of thoughts in his mind. Vanessa entered quietly, her presence immediately commanding attention. "Children, remember your manners. Today we have a guest, but tomorrow he may become more than just a visitor. Do not forget that." Adrian scoffed. "More than a visitor. He can barely keep up with table manners." Clarice smirked. "And yet he dares sit here among us, the heirs of Sterling." Elijah walked to a chair and sat deliberately, his movements calm, deliberate. He scanned the room carefully, noting the furniture layout, the positions of the adults, and subtle gestures of the children. Every glance and every whisper was a potential piece of information, a hint toward weaknesses, rivalries, and patterns. Madeline loves control. Adrian and Clarice are reckless. Vanessa is calculating, protective of her children. Lucas is brash, Ivy observant, all predictable in their ways. I can use this. The first conversation began with a discussion of the household's affairs. Madeline spoke of finances and upcoming social events, her voice precise, every word intended to assert authority. Elijah listened, occasionally interjecting questions that seemed polite but were carefully chosen to extract information. "Father has entrusted me with certain responsibilities, Elijah," Vanessa said, her tone smooth, almost hypnotic. "And while this house may seem daunting, knowledge is power here. You will learn that soon enough." Elijah nodded, masking the sharp calculations running through his mind. Every detail, every conversation, a clue to how this family operates. Every slight, every condescension, fuels the strategy I will employ. Later, during a stroll through the manor's gardens, Elijah encountered Adrian alone, leaning against the marble balustrade. "You think you belong here," Adrian sneered. "Do you really think Victor cares for you? He doesn't even know you." Elijah's expression remained calm, eyes steady. "I may not belong yet," he replied evenly, "but I am learning, and those who underestimate me will regret it." Adrian laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Regret? You're just a street rat playing dress-up. You'll see your place soon enough." Elijah's mind raced, but his voice was measured. "Perhaps, but even a street rat can learn the ways of lions and survive among them." Adrian's smirk faltered slightly, though he masked it quickly. Interesting asterisk, he thought. The boy has fire in him, hidden under that calm exterior. As evening descended, the family gathered for dinner. Tensions remained taut, conversations laced with subtle mockery and covert testing. Clarice spilled a drink deliberately near Elijah's plate, forcing him to remain composed despite the mess. Lucas interrupted discussions with thinly veiled insults, while Ivy observed quietly, occasionally giving Elijah a glance that suggested curiosity rather than malice. Madeline, ever controlling, addressed the family sharply. "Remember, you are all heirs of this empire. Yet today a new presence walks among us. Watch him closely. He may be small, underestimated, but every move he makes will be noted, and every misstep of yours will be noticed as well." Elijah remained silent, drinking in the words and the atmosphere, noting the hierarchy, the insecurities, and the rivalries. Every insult and every challenge was catalogued in his mind, forming the blueprint of the strategy he would employ to claim what was rightfully his. After dinner, Victor joined briefly, observing silently. He nodded toward Elijah. "Your education begins tomorrow, son. Study diligently. Knowledge will be your strongest ally." Elijah inclined his head respectfully, his inner resolve hardening. Education, observation, patience, and strategy. Every element is now in place. They do not yet realize the storm that is forming within me. Later that night, alone in his room, Elijah reviewed every moment of the day. Each interaction, each glance, each mocking word was stored in his memory, a puzzle forming into a clear picture. Every weakness, every rivalry, every subtle fear, all will be leveraged. Every member of this family will play a role in my rise, and they will not see it coming until it is too late. As he prepared for sleep, Elijah's thoughts turned to the future, his ultimate goal, not only to survive, but to take command, to dominate the empire that had once cast him and his mother aside. The night was quiet, but within the walls of Sterling Manor, a seed of vengeance, intelligence, and calculated ambition had firmly taken root. The morning sun spilled over Sterling Manor, casting a golden hue over the grand halls and polished floors. Elijah awoke early, not from any pressing obligation, but from habit, a mind like his never rested. Today marked the beginning of a more structured routine within the household, a day of lessons, observations, and subtle maneuvering among the Sterling family. The drawing room had already become the center of the day's activities. Madeline had summoned her children, and Elijah was expected to participate alongside them. Vanessa followed, overseeing Lucas and Ivy with a meticulous gaze. Every movement, every glance, every word exchanged would be noted, cataloged, and analyzed. "Today we begin with logic and strategy," Madeline announced, her voice sharp and commanding. "Elijah, you will sit with the others. Do not expect any special treatment. You will earn your place through performance." Elijah nodded calmly. Understood, Mrs. Madeline. The morning progressed with rigorous exercises, mental puzzles, and discussions about economics, law, and corporate structures. Adrian and Clarice attempted to deride him, tossing subtle insults and smirks, but Elijah met each with polite composure, occasionally answering a question with precision that left the room silent. "Not bad," Vanessa remarked softly, eyes narrowing in appraisal. "You have the mind of a strategist, a dangerous one if honed correctly." Lucas leaned forward, skeptical. "Are you really going to outsmart us? Everyone knows Victor's children are the ones who control this house." Elijah smiled faintly. "Control comes to those who prepare, not merely to those who inherit. Observation is the first step, understanding is the second, and execution is the final and decisive step." By midday, the family had gathered for a luncheon. Conversation was lively, yet always tinged with a tension that Elijah found intriguing. Each child vied for attention, yet subtly tested him, attempting to discover his weaknesses. Clarice, unable to resist, leaned in and whispered, "I wonder how long it will take before the street rat cracks." Elijah's calm response was quiet but deliberate. "I have no intention of cracking. I intend to learn and adapt." Madeline and Vanessa exchanged a glance, silently acknowledging the boy's potential. The adults were already formulating subtle strategies to test him further, unaware that every encounter only strengthened his understanding of their dynamics. Afternoon turned into evening. Elijah had spent hours solving legal problems, analyzing financial statements, and mastering complex theories of corporate governance. Madeline observed quietly, occasionally interjecting to correct, guide, or provoke him, all the while testing his composure. Finally, as the household gathered for a private meeting, Elijah had completed the final assessment from HEIRS preliminary entrance exams, a test renowned for its difficulty. Victor and the two wives observed from a distance, curious to see if the boy could truly achieve what no one expected. Elijah handed in his exam sheet. The room was silent as the proctor checked each answer meticulously. Minutes stretched into hours, tension thick as honey. Then the announcement came. "Elijah Sterling has achieved a perfect score. He is accepted into HEIR as the top candidate of his class." A stunned silence followed. Adrian's jaw tightened, Clarice's smirk faltered, Lucas's eyes widened, and Ivy, for the first time, smiled faintly in genuine acknowledgement. Madeline and Vanessa exchanged looks, a mix of pride, surprise, and intrigue. Victor approached Elijah, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Your diligence, composure, and intelligence have proven themselves today. Remember, this is only the beginning. Knowledge is the foundation of power." Elijah inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, Father. I will not fail you." Later that evening, in the grand library, Elijah addressed the family, his voice calm but carrying a quiet authority that drew attention. "My name is Elijah Sterling," he began, pausing to let the weight of his words settle. "I am the youngest son of the Sterling conglomerate. Today marks not just an achievement in academics, but the first step toward understanding the empire I was born into. I intend to learn, to grow, and eventually to lead." He paused, scanning the faces around the room. Every member of the family felt the undercurrent of ambition in his words. Adrian's defiance lingered, Clarice's curiosity was piqued, Lucas's skepticism remained, and Ivy's observant eyes now held a measure of respect. Madeline finally spoke, her voice firm yet carrying a hint of admiration. "We will see, Elijah. We will see how far your ambition takes you, and whether your understanding can match your courage." Elijah smiled faintly, inwardly nodding every expression, every flicker of emotion. The foundation had been laid, alliances and rivalries subtly mapped. And now, with his perfect HEIR score, he had secured the first tangible proof of his capabilities. The storm was only beginning, but the first move had been made, and it was precise, deliberate, and unstoppable.